All right, so in this video, we're going to take a look at an example of how we can apply all we learned to solving a gas law problem. So we're going to be looking at everything we've learned from earlier on in the semester, which is organizing the information, uh, writing down what you're given. Eventually, that will help lead us to what it is that we need to find, and then also what we're going to use to get there. So we have here an example of a typical problem, and the way that it's phrased is also typical for gases. So it says we have a sample of neon gas, occupies a volume of 3.75 liters at a temperature of 11 degrees Celsius and a pressure of 1.25 atms. Remember, atm, that's atmospheres. What would the new volume be if the pressure is decreased to 0.16 atmospheres and the temperature is increased to 99 degrees Celsius, right? So there's a lot happening, a lot of words here in this type of problem, and many of the gas law problems are going to be just like this. So what we need to do is to read what's given and then organize that information, and that usually means listing what we're given, right? So up here we can say this is what we're given. Okay, so we need to look at our question and then extract the relevant pieces of information. So we're given here, well, we're told, first of all, that we're dealing with neon gas, right? So right away, what you should be thinking is we're going to use some sort of a gas law or gas law relationship to help us solve this problem. We're told that it occupies a volume of 3.75 liters, so we can write that down. Volume is V, so that's 3.75 liters. We're also given a temperature of 11 degrees Celsius, so that's T, 11 degrees C. And if you recall, when we have our gas law problems, you want to make sure that your temperature is converted to Kelvin. So don't wait to do this. Go ahead and do this right now. So if you recall, converting from Celsius to Kelvin, we're going to add 273 to this. So that gives 284 Kelvin. You might see 273.14 for this number here. For simplicity's sake, we'll just use the 273. So we have our temperature converted to Kelvin right away. And then we're also told that we have a pressure of 1.25 atmospheres. So that's P 1.25 atm for atmospheres. And these are the conditions that we're given here that we're starting off with. So what we should be labeling these are as V1, T1, and P1. Right? Those are our initial, our starting conditions. We're also told now in the remaining part of this problem, it says, what would the new volume be? So right away, we know that we need to find a new volume, which we can call V, and specifically V2. That's what we need to calculate. That's what we need to find. That's our unknown. We're also told that the pressure is decreased to 0.16 atmospheres. So that's a new pressure, P. We'll call that P2 because that's what we're ending at, and that's 0.16 atmospheres. Let me write this a little bit to the left so we can read that. So that's P2, 0.16 atm, and then we have a final temperature that's raised to 99 degrees Celsius. So T2 is 99 degrees C. We want to convert that to Kelvin right away, so we add our 273 to this. Okay, and that's going to give us 372 Kelvin as my final temperature. So what we have are pressure, we're given volume, temperature, and pressure that we're starting with. We have a final pressure, a final temperature. Our final volume is our unknown, right? So we're asked to find the new volume in this particular situation. The other thing that we're not given information about is the amount, right? That fourth variable. Okay, so N is not, the amount of gas isn't actually talked about in this particular problem. So what we can assume is that N is constant. Okay, and that's a fairly safe assumption in this particular problem. We're not really given any information about it, and that's really what you want to do also when you have problems, gas problems like these, gas law problems like these. So we have then the variables that are changing and the one that we need to find. So we need to use the relationship that is going to connect volume, temperature, and pressure. And there's one relationship, one gas law that has all of these three in it, and that's the combined gas law. All right, so we're going to use the combined gas law because we have the P, V, and T that we're looking that were given in the problem. So as a quick reminder, the combined gas law is P1 V1 over T1 is equal to P2 V2 over T2. Okay, and what we need to determine based on all of the information that's given to us is our V2, right? That's what we need to solve our combined gas law equation for. So this is the thing that we need to isolate on one side of the equation. So we need to get rid of the P2 and the V2 on the right side. So the way that we do that is we can multiply this right side by T2 over P2, right? So the T2s can cancel out, our P2s can cancel out there as well. So we end up with just V2 on this side of the equation. Whatever I do to the right side, I need to do to the left side as well. So I need to multiply the left side by T2 over P2. Okay, so what I end up with, if I clean this up a little bit, is my rearranged equation. I have P1 V1 times T2, and that's divided by T1 times P2. And all of that is equal to now, when I solve the right side of this equation, that's just equal to our V2, the thing that we needed to solve for according to what information that's given in the problem. And then it just becomes a case of substituting these values into our rearranged equation and then putting our calculator to work. Now, when you do this, when you substitute your values in, don't just put the numbers, you also want to put the units as well. So the liters, the Kelvin, the atmospheres, stick those into your rearranged equation because that often is going to be a way that we can use to check to make sure that all of this algebra that we did over here actually makes sense. Because if we're trying to find volume, the only unit that I should remain with at the very end is a unit of volume, which in this case should be liters. All right, so we're going to substitute all of these values into our rearranged equation. So we have our P1. So my P1 was 1.25 atmospheres. So I put the number and the unit in, times V1. My V1 was 3.75 liters, times T2. My T2 is down here, 372, and that's Kelvin. All of that is divided by T1. My T1 was 284 Kelvin. And then my P2 was 0.16 atmospheres. Okay, so if I just look now at my units, I can see that Kelvin goes away, Kelvin cancels, and I also see that atmospheres cancels as well. All right, so the only unit now that I remain with in the numerator is liters, and there's no units left in the denominator, so that's 1. So liters over 1 would be liters as our unit, right? So in terms of the units, my whatever I did here, how I manipulated this equation makes sense. And I'm going to stick this into my calculator. And what are we going to end up with? Well, if I plug that in, what I get is 38.37, and then a bunch of numbers after it, and then that's liters would be the unit. We want to make sure that we also apply all the rules that we learned early on for sig figs. So if I look here, I have 3 sig figs, 3 sig figs, 3 sig figs, 3 sig figs, and then 2 sig figs. So all I'm doing is multiplying and dividing. The rule is I take the number with the least number of sig figs. So my answer there should have 2. So that's my first. There's my second. Next digit is less than 5. So this rounds to 38 liters as your final answer, right? So all of the steps that we've gone through here in this particular problem are really the same steps that we've used ever since we started doing calculations in chemistry. So in terms from a chemistry perspective, there really isn't anything super specific to chemistry. This is really a math problem that we're doing within the confines of chemistry, right? So we're looking at gas laws, but it really does just kind of boil down to algebra, but it also boils down to how you actually approach a problem in the first place. You want to make sure that you approach it systematically. Okay, so we had a bunch of words here at the beginning. We were able to extract the relevant information, write it down, list it out so you can actually see the different things that you're presented with, and hopefully that will help you to identify what the unknown thing is, the thing that you need to find, and then we can decide, well, what's the best relationship, or in this case, the gas law, that is going to be appropriate for this particular situation. Because we're given the three different variables, we're assuming n is constant. The only law that relates all these three was our combined gas law. We did a little bit of manipulation here to solve for V2 and then substitute our values in. The other thing you want to keep in mind is we are dealing with temperatures here in gases, and whenever you're in the gases section and you're dealing with temp, you want to make sure that you convert that to Kelvin. Because if you don't, you're going to get numbers that don't make a whole lot of sense at the end. Hopefully, this makes a little bit more sense, and thanks for tuning in.